A few weeks ago, I did something totally crazy and I ditched all of my supplements that I was using to mitigate the poor situation that I was in, and I swapped them for deuterium depleted water. And the improvements that I experienced were insane. And I have to say that before this moment, I was hesitant about DDW because of the cost. And I myself have used supplements with clients to help them speed up the results in which they're able to achieve before weaning them off of them and making sure their bodies have everything they need so they don't actually need the supplements. But this recommendation is going to stop. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Emanuela, and I'm a health and nutrition practitioner, and I've helped over 100 men and women discover what optimal health really feels like for them through this nature-based and biophysics-backed strategies. Enough about me. Let's just move on to this video because I want to share with you this incredibly cool stuff. I'm going to start off by telling you what supplements I was on, what I experienced after taking it, and of course, why I was on those supplements, my symptoms, how my symptoms changed, and also I'm going to tell you why naturopaths, nutritionists, holistic practitioners that are aware about this water still don't recommend it. And please, if you're not subscribed to my channel, I always appreciate a subscribe. I always appreciate your comments, your likes, your input, and your feedback. So, I was on a long list of supplements, a list that is far too long, in my opinion, because of a disaster that I got myself in. If you're wondering why I've helped so many people feel better and yet I am having problems, totally fair question, and I've linked the video below that tells you exactly how I got myself into this sticky mess. But at any rate, on to what I was taking. So I was taking D-ribose because my mitochondria was not functioning properly, and D-ribose is very helpful for a large number of reasons, including energy and the sensation of feeling good, especially when you're seasonally unable to eat carbohydrates, because I only eat what grows here. 2, I was on 3 types of magnesium: magnesium malate, magnesium orotate, magnesium threonate, in fairly large doses. I was on L-taurine because taurine gets depleted with high exposure to non-native EMFs. I was on black seed oil. I was on a prebiotic because my digestion, acid reflux, and constipation was a little just not very optimal. And I also would occasionally take deglycerized licorice, again for digestive purposes. I was also taking large doses of ubiquinol as I'd begin to get headaches here and was using that to mitigate. And I was taking about 600 to 800 milligrams of ubiquinol on a regular basis. I also was taking a phosphatidylcholine serine supplement by Body Bio, and that's a lot. So I ditched all of them in favor of a case of 25 parts per million deuterium depleted water, 500 ml bottles, and I began by only drinking 1 per day, which is a relatively small amount. Sometimes I would just sip it here and there. I would always try to drink a small amount, like about this much, right before bed. And sometimes I would mix it in my regular water. And for regular water, I drank reverse osmosis water, which I vortex and add a little bit of high quality salt, because the water table here sucks and it can be high in deuterium, but I haven't tested it. I was also experiencing bleeding gums to the point where they were a little swollen in some places, but I couldn't actually brush my teeth at all. So I stopped brushing my teeth and I was using red light and blue light therapy on my teeth to get them clean, as well as oil pulling with coconut oil, and I would mix it with wintergreen and peppermint essential oil and copaiba essential oil. And the oil pulling definitely helped a bit, but not enough for me to actually return to brushing my teeth. So the first 2 days that I drank the deuterium depleted water, I was feeling extremely groggy. That's really the only effect I felt. I felt really, really sleepy. And I wasn't sure why. I wasn't sure if it was because of that or something else, maybe just, who knows, continued changes in the magnetic field, other things that are happening around me, whatever it is. And then when I woke up on that following morning, I noticed that I dropped 4 pounds overnight, literally, of deuterium, and I could see the difference in my face, and I could see the difference physically, which I found really, really strange because I hadn't done anything else other than drinking the water. And I am very consistent and I'm not prone to fluctuations at all. The other thing that happened relatively quickly within that first week is that my gums were no longer swollen and were far less likely to bleed if I were to brush my teeth. And the other thing that happened within those first 3 days was my bowel movements became, if you're familiar with the Bristol stool chart, pretty much perfect every single time. And again, I stopped all of those supplements and my diet remained a very seasonally appropriate diet that's fairly high in fish and seafood. And the other thing that happened is I no longer needed my ubiquinol. I no longer got those headaches. Of course, there were times in which I had gone out or was exposed to a much higher level of non-native EMFs and as a result needed to take more water or go in the cold bath to keep mitigating. But in that short period of time, it's only been a few weeks, the changes that I continue to see on a regular basis by drinking this water and the improvements from ditching all the supplements, which by the way, I had stopped taking supplements. I wasn't taking any of them at all. I began them because I was feeling so crappy. So it's not the process of taking them out that helped me, but it was the addition of the deuterium depleted water. So if in case you're wondering, I am currently in Canada and I got it from Amazon. I got Hydro Health and I was going to get my next case from Light Water because originally it said when I tried to enter it in that shipping was, I think $80 or something like that. And then when I went to check back again, it had jumped to several $100s. But Hydro Health, if you're in Canada, and Calarvia are much more cost effective to buy here. I actually think Hydro Health is the cheapest when you count all in Canada. If you really understand deuterium and what deuterium does in the body, where you need it and where you don't, and how non-native EMF exposure of all kinds, as well as changes in magnetic fields and insufficient sun can affect deuterium depletion or push deuterium in places where it's not supposed to be. So it's not supposed to be in your mitochondria. It is supposed to be in your blood. It is supposed to be in some parts of your bones. But, it's definitely not supposed to be in your mitochondria. Also, the reason why I ditched all the supplements and didn't just add the deuterium depleted water is because supplements are high in deuterium. And the reason for this isn't the supplement itself. It is actually the processing of it that they tend to be processed by and large in deuterated water high in deuterium in order to extend the shelf life. The same is true for a lot of shelf stable products. Think flour, think processed foods of all kinds, packaged foods, anything like that. They tend to be high in deuterium. And anytime you have seed oils, so sunflower, safflower, canola, vegetable corn, all of that nasty stuff, they're extremely high in deuterium. So do seeds tend to be high in deuterium, and high sugar foods tend to be high in deuterium, which is the reason why high deuterium foods tend to be found at the equator, where you can actually deplete it properly, and not up here in Canada, where I have no hope in hell of depleting it. So, seasonal eating is definitely a critical piece to that. But I am very, very careful about any time I cheat on things. I do definitely have treats of some kind. I do go out for dinner with my husband, but I try to pick something grilled or a raw fish if there is. And I try to go as seasonal as possible. And sometimes I will have a little bit of dessert, but I will really avoid the fried foods and avoid the fried treats, even in things like avocado oil, because they can be high in deuterium. And anytime you see hydrogenated palm oil or hydrogenated something, the word hydrogenation actually means that they're using heavy water, deuterated water, to process the oil in order to make it like that, because deuterium changes the bonds. Now, this sounds really crazy if you don't really understand how deuterium works, but it's really not, because if you think of it in very simple terms, deuterium just gunks up your system in every single way, unless it's exactly where it's supposed to be. And for most of us today, that's hardly ever the case. I used to prescribe supplements, and to be honest, supplements and creating a curated supplement protocol is often something that is promoted as a pro and a skill of a health coach, nutritionist, naturopath, functional medicine practitioner, whatever. And also, to the naked eye or at face value, it seems like you are more skilled if you can then individualize your recommendations and be like, well, you pick from all of these supplements, be like, these are the ones you need, and here's why. And also, of course, every practitioner has their favorite go-to supplements that they tend to suggest to many of their clients by and large. It still feels like there's more skill involved than saying, hey, go out and buy yourself some DDW. And that's it. You know what I mean? And this is really one of the subconscious reasons I believe that even practitioners that understand deuterium do not recommend deuterium depleted water. Budget is often cited as another issue, but I just proved that you can experience massive benefits by only one bottle of 25 ppm per day, which is less than is recommended by many of these companies. If you are spending anywhere near the amount of money required to get a case of DDW on supplements, it is a no-brainer. Ditch those bad boys and switch to this. The only time I will still use supplements is for clients that truly are on a shoestring budget and they've spent the only spare change they have joining my group program or whatever it is that they may be, and then I will still recommend them and we'll keep it really minimal. Results are slower in those cases, much slower when you're on a budget. Health and wealth are linked. Most people understand this, but you will get results. They're just going to happen a lot slower. And if someone is on a budget and is really doing their best, obviously, then they should be able to get as much support as they possibly can to fit their budget. The other thing is, because of how deuterium really works, which I can do another video if you guys are interested, just let me know on this. I do not like hydrogen water or hydrogen inhalation. Everybody's talking about all the research on how good it is. But the problem is, you don't know how much deuterium is in your water. And this can be a major issue. And the thing is that sometimes you can feel better in the short term, but it can cost you in the long term. And honestly, with the kind of thing that deuterium depleted water can do for you and the cost of a high quality hydrogen bottle or hydrogen inhalation device, if you want to make sure that nothing nasty ends up in what you're taking, you may as well just get deuterium depleted water. So let me explain to you how you want to dose this. I actually believe that there's probably almost no one who can't take deuterium depleted water, which is another reason why it sounds so incredulous and impersonal, but it's also true. And this makes it easy for me to tell you, just go out and buy a case of deuterium depleted water. Now, I want to make sure I'm clear. It is not the be all and end all. There are many other lifestyle changes that you must make, changes to your routine, changes to your light, changes to your diet to ensure that they align with nature's rhythms where you live that are non-negotiable. They have to be done concurrently with this. Unless you tell me you're rich, you don't care, and you're only going to drink DDW, then, whatever, do what you want to do. But there is so many things that need to be taken into consideration, also to make sure you're not wasting the deuterium depleted water. And of course, if you want that kind of advice, just reach out to me, check out my group program, which I've also linked in the comments. I even give it to my kids, FYI. Some people may come after me for it, and if they do, so be it. But the research that I've done, when your children are exhibiting issues that are mitochondrial in nature, which so many of our kids are, even my kids are, then they can benefit from deuterium depleted water. I do give them less because they are smaller than me, but they can take it in the right quantities. Okay. So All that to say, I had the most incredible experience ditching every single supplement, and my list was long, and switching to deuterium depleted water. I am now increasing it to 2 bottles a day instead of 1 bottle a day to see how much further I can take my improvements. Thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please hit subscribe, like, tell me your thoughts. I appreciate you.